Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Make sure you like this video down below and to subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I was not going to be doing a video today. I will be doing a live stream later. But this new article that came out from Time Magazine really tells us a lot. It tells us a lot we already knew, but I wasn't so sure that the media would be able to admit it, even accidentally, about how they're blatantly bragging about altering the system in order to secure Biden's election victory in the 2020 election. Now, this article doesn't talk necessarily so much about shenanigans at the ballot box, and I'm going to read through it. I'm not going to read the entire article because it's too long, and I don't want to draw my videos out for, 20 minutes on end. But I think it's important that we look into it because it tells us a lot about what we already know. And the same people that pretend to claim that they care about democracy are the same people that are openly bragging about changing the system, changing the rules, so that they are able to personally benefit from the outcome of the election. It's blatantly obvious. They're doing it right before your very eyes. And it all starts, and we'll get into this right now, because it talks about the chaos about the election, and it talked about the chaos that preceded it. It talks a little bit about what happened a little bit after, and it talks about the fact that Donald Trump said that it was a rigged system. He said it was a strange system. What transpired, the fact that we saw so many states counted over a period of time that lasted days and weeks on end. And in some cases, like New York's 22nd election, they're still counting ballots. And it goes on to say Trump was right because there was a conspiracy behind the scenes that involved CEOs, that involved left-wingers and business titans. It talks about how unions and the Chamber of Commerce and businessmen and left-wing activists were coming together to alter the political arena against the president, which is true. I said a lot of what people refer to as the rigged system actually happened before the election. And this backs it up because now they're openly bragging about it, which is very true. And I'll get to some of the big tech censorship later in the article. But talking about how the fact you have big business and left-wing activists teaming up on the same team should be a little strange, because it's not an agenda for the ordinary American. If you have big business CEOs of these mega corporations teaming up with these Marxist organizations and these far-left activists who seek destruction of the American history, it's not for you. It's really not. That's not what the agenda's been about. And it really shows you that this thing is pretty deep. And even, the neocon circles, the supposed right-wing establishment, they're largely in bed with the same beast. And this just proves it. And it talks about the fact that there's this handshake between business and labor, and all these people are coming together against Trump. Something's up. You realize something's up in general when that happens. Something is up. Because these are people that usually you would expect to be on the opposite side of things, but it just shows that the far left, like I've said, are just useful idiots for the establishment. And it talks about shadow campaigners. It talks about big business colluding with the far left. It talks about big business colluding with members of the deep state. This article says that. This article uses the word cabal, like unironically. Like if a right-winger were to write this article, they would be, they'd call them, the 17th letter, they'd call them this, that, and the other thing. But no, since it's Time Magazine, they're able to get away with it, openly bragging about the system being rigged in Biden's favor. And it talks about crossing ideological lines. Why? Because orange man bad? No. Something's up here. And he represents a threat to the power structure that's at play. And they don't like that. And even though his presidency was a little bit more, a little bit less populist than his original 2016 campaign, him as a symbol, first and foremost, was something they wanted to get rid of, because it was a symbol of a renewed American patriotism, a spirit of nationalism mixed in with economic populism. That's what they fear. That's what they fear the most. And it talks more and more about this. And it says they touched every aspect of the election. They got states to change voting systems and laws and help secure hundreds of millions in public and private funding. It talks about big business changing the voting systems, which is exactly what they did. If you look at the rejection rates of the mail-in ballots, they plummeted, despite the fact that it was largely the similar, ballots you'd send them in. They changed the laws to let more ballots come through. They changed the laws to essentially make mail-in voting universal. And they turned out a lot of low-propensity voters as a result, and they see that as a win for democracy because of the pandemic. They use the pandemic as an excuse. Now, that's not exactly a good thing, in my opinion. The percent turnout you get in an election is not necessarily a good thing. When you have big business barraging people with these astroturfed movements, barraging people with text messages, calls, ballot request forms, they're just taking advantage of their power. And it's not a democracy because they're taking advantage of their big money to get whatever they want. I'm not going to look at high turnout, and I'm not going to see that as a benefit of democracy because it's not authentic. If people want to get out and vote, they can get out and vote. If people want to feel, inclined to vote, they'll vote. If they don't feel inclined to vote, they won't. But if you sit there and you change up the voting system and you barrage them with text messages, I was barraged with text messages from the left. And if, an apolitical person gets barraged with text messages from the left, they'll get irritated. And largely, a lot of times, they'll end up voting, and they'll just end up voting for Biden because that's what they're being paid to believe, essentially. And that's exactly where they are. And they go on to say that these elites were pressuring the social media companies to take a harder line against, they say, disinformation. So anything that makes Biden look bad, essentially. The Hunter Biden scandal, we saw polls that said if, a certain amount of people knew about it, they wouldn't have came out and vote. It doesn't matter to these people. They don't care about actual democracy, actual people, expressing what they really believe at the voting box. No, they use the voting system as a power play to get exactly what they wanted. And that's what it is. And they barely won. Even with, potential shenanigans, even, if you discount that, they only won by 43,000 votes across 3 states. And, the polling was way off. People didn't trust the polls. They still got out and vote. But the polls, I think, are used to demoralize people as well. And I think that one poll from Wisconsin arguably may have been enough in and of itself to, bake the cake in for Trump in the state. I don't know if he would have won without the poll, but it definitely hurts. It definitely demoralizes people. Maybe not the average, politically inclined individual, but the person that's a little apolitical but likes what Trump has to say. You have to look at this whole article because I'm not going to read through it all. It goes on to talk about who's astroturfing it, these, businessmen or labor leaders, which don't care about their workers. No, they don't care about their workers. No, they don't. If they did, they would support the man who raised blue-collar wages. They would have supported the man who restructured trade deals to benefit American workers. They would have supported the man whose policies on the economy. We could show the graphs about how the, bottom income earners were earning more than the top of the heap individuals at the 1%, even though the supposed economic experts were telling people that the tax cuts were supposed to only benefit the top 1%. That's not what happened. You could look at the fact that they supported Biden, who wants mass immigration, wants cheaper labor in this country by the millions upon millions. No, they're all frauds. It's all these people are. And they collude with big business and parts of big government bureaucrats to essentially instill people into power. And that's exactly what Biden is. Biden's a puppet. You can tell Biden's a puppet already. And looking deeper into this article, it talks about how big business was donating hundreds of millions of dollars in order to sway the outcome of the general election. And then they continue on the rest of this article, and they trash the Republicans for really just calling for audits and things like that. Here we go. Democracy won in the end. That's what they say. And then I think to myself, when you bragged about changing the system, when you bragged about changing the laws to just help your candidate win, using the pandemic and exploiting the pandemic to help your side win, pushing the vote by mail scheme with millions of dollars when you also support massive in-person protests with the same millions of dollars. They have an agenda. It's not for you. It's for them. And now they are openly bragging about it to your face, laughing at you. This is exactly the state of our country under Biden in 2021. And there's nothing you can do about it. They want you to feel powerless, but you can't. You just can't. We got to keep moving. And we have to also not just fight the left, but reform the right. Get the right on track. That's step one. Then we'll focus on the left, but it'll be decisive. It has to be decisive. Otherwise, it's going to be an uphill battle from here because everybody is against us. And hopefully this wakes people up. I think it will, because now they're bragging about it to your face. It just blows my mind right now. But that's really the state of the country. So thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. Become a member. Donate to the Patreon or subscribe. Star links in description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.